He tells his child to stop, to drop everything and just listen, because heaven itself is interrupting their routine at this very moment. It is not a gentle pause. It is not a suggestion. It is a call that cannot wait, one that cannot be delayed or ignored without consequence. He speaks with authority and love, asking for their full attention because what is unfolding right now is the most important step they have ever faced. This moment stands above all others they have lived through, above all decisions they have made, above all prayers they have offered and wondered about. He is stopping them because time has narrowed, the window is open, and heaven is moving toward them with intention. They must not say they will listen later. They must not assume this can wait. This is the moment that changes direction, and they must hear him now. The Lord does not interrupt his beloved without reason. He is interrupting them because one hidden obstacle has been standing between them and success, between them and peace, between them and the breakthrough they have begged him for, in quiet moments between them and the fulfillment their soul has been aching for. They have worked hard. They have tried to do the right things. They have prayed. They have waited, they have endured, yet something still felt blocked, slowed, restrained, as if an invisible wall stood just ahead of them. They could sense they were close, yet not fully there. They could feel movement but not release. Progress was indeed visible, but not completion. The Lord assured them it was real. An obstacle had been standing in the way, something subtle and deeply hidden, something that seemed completely harmless initially but carried immense spiritual weight in the spirit. And now he was speaking to reveal it, demanding it be fully exposed, confronted and removed. They must listen closely. What was about to happen would stun them. It would not bring them fear but absolute clarity. It would not destroy them but would disrupt the path they believed they were on. It would shift their self-image, how they saw him and how they saw future. Their direction would alter completely. Not because they were wrong to desire success, but because they were reaching it without truly understanding the cost of carrying the wrong baggage into their next season. God was stopping them before they stepped forward with weights they were never meant to carry. He was interrupting them before success arrived without true peace. He called to them because what came next required lightness of heart, sharp hearing and instant obedience. Without delay, the warning was time-sensitive. It was not like the others, not one they could listen to halfway and revisit later. They could not simply dismiss it and expect to receive that same opportunity again. He said this not to frighten them but to awaken them. There are moments that return and others that pass forever. This was a passing moment with eternal weight. If they ignored his call, they would not lose his love, but they would lose alignment. They will not lose his presence, but they will delay clarity. They will not lose their destiny, but they will slow its unfolding. And he does not want that for them. He calls them because he loves them too much to let them drift past the very step that unlocks everything they have been praying for. For his child, this moment was scheduled in heaven before they were born, before their name was spoken by human lips. He wrote this interruption into their story before they took their first breath. He knew the day would come when they would need to be stopped, not pushed, not rushed, but stopped to hear his voice clearly. This is not random timing. This is not chance. This is not a coincidence tied to technology, people, or circumstance. This is a divine appointment written into eternity. Activated now, Because their heart is finally ready to hear what their spirit could not handle before. He waited for them, watching them grow and watching them struggle. He watched them learn, and now he speaks because they are standing at the edge of something that can either lift them higher than they imagined or burden them more than they expect, depending on whether they listen. They have been asking him for success, for progress, for movement, for answers, for open doors. They have prayed for clarity and wondered why silence followed. They have asked him to change their situation and felt like nothing moved. But for his child, silence was not absence. Silence was preparation. He was not withholding. He was aligning. He was not ignoring them but arranging this exact moment, because the next step is not about striving. It is about surrender. It is not about speed. It is about obedience. It is not about talent. It is about trust. And if they miss this step, everything else will feel heavy, delayed, and incomplete, no matter how successful it looks on the outside. So he commands them with love and authority. They must listen with open hearts, not out of mere curiosity, nor should they listen with half attention or listen while holding on to distractions. They must listen with fully open hearts, because missing this will delay everything they have prayed for. Not because he is punishing them, but because alignment must come before acceleration. They asked him to move them forward, but forward without alignment leads to collapse. They asked him to bless them, but blessing without clarity leads to exhaustion. They asked him to open doors, but doors without preparation lead to regret. That is why he stops them now. That is why he speaks so urgently. That is why heaven interrupts their routines, their thoughts, their plans, and their expectations. They may feel their chest tighten as they hear these words. They may feel a pull inside that says, "This is serious." That feeling is not fear. That feeling is spiritual recognition. A believer's spirit knows this is no ordinary moment. The soul knows something is being asked of them. They have reached a point where staying the same costs more than changing. They have reached a point where delay feels heavier than obedience. They have reached a point where success without peace no longer satisfies them. And the Lord is there to guide them through this step that changes everything, but only if they listen now. They must not say they are unready. Readiness is not the requirement. Willingness is. They must not say they need more information. Obedience comes before full understanding. They must not say they will return to this later. Later is where momentum goes to die. This moment is alive and charged, appointed and active. Heaven leans in and angels are attentive. The spiritual realm is responsive, and the Lord speaks directly to them because he sees what lies ahead. And he knows what must be released before they can walk into it, declaring, "Amen." Favor surrounds me like a shield. If they know, he prepares blessings. For God's child, this is the most important step they have ever faced, because it is the step that determines whether success becomes a burden or a blessing. It determines whether progress brings peace or pressure. It determines whether breakthrough feels empty or fulfilling. One unseen barrier has stood in their path, but he is about to reveal it, remove it, and replace it with clarity and freedom. But they must stay with him. They must listen closely. They must let go of the need to control how things unfold. They must trust that he sees what they cannot see, releasing everything, not physically but inwardly, casting aside assumptions, dropping their defenses, dropping their fear of change, releasing their attachment to what feels familiar. releasing their need to understand before obeying. Because what is about to happen will blow their minds, not because it is loud, but because it is precise. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is true. Not because it is overwhelming, but because it finally makes sense. He is interrupting them because he is about to move them. He is stopping them because he is about to shift them. He is speaking urgently because delay will cost them clarity. Listening with their hearts now, staying with him. This is not the moment to look away. This is the moment everything begins to change. The Lord is speaking to his child now because this moment is not like the others that have passed through their lives. This is not just another day added to the many they have already lived. This is not another message among countless voices competing for their attention. This moment is urgent because something has shifted, something real and unseen, something that changes how time itself is moving around them. They can feel it if they are honest with themselves. There is a pressure in the air, a seriousness in their spirit, a sense that they are standing at a line they cannot cross casually. He is not calling them because they are curious. He is calling them because they are positioned. He is not speaking because they are bored. He speaks because heaven has moved. And when heaven moves, delay becomes costly. There are moments in life where waiting is wisdom. But there are also moments where waiting becomes disobedience. This is one of those moments. The season they were in allowed room for hesitation, for learning, for mistakes, for slow growth. But that season is closing. Time has shifted spiritually. And the pace has changed. What once took months to decide now requires clarity in days. What once allowed excuses now demands action. What once tolerated delay now asks for response. He is not rushing them to confuse them. He is urging them because alignment is happening quickly and they must move with it or feel the strain of resisting it. He has been patient with his child. He gave them space to heal, time to process, room to recover. He allowed them to sit in uncertainty without condemnation. He did not pressure them when they were weak. He did not push them when their heart was heavy. But understand this clearly. Patience is not permission to remain unmoved forever. Healing was meant to prepare them, not to become a hiding place. Reflection was meant to sharpen them, not to delay them. And now the time for preparation is giving way to the time for decision. This is why the moment feels different. This is why their spirit feels alert. This is why old comforts no longer satisfy them. They are no longer in the season of getting ready. They are in the season to step forward. Delays are ending now. Not because everything is suddenly easy, but because what was blocking movement has been exposed. Some delays were necessary. Some waiting protected them. Some pauses saved them from damage they could not see. But not all delay is holy, and not all waiting honors him. There comes a point where delay turns into fear, wearing the mask of wisdom. There comes a point where hesitation stops being caution and starts becoming resistance. The Lord is speaking now because they are standing at that point. He is not angry with them. He is not disappointed in them. He is alerting them. He is waking them up to the reality that the time for indecision is closing. Heaven is watching their response, not with condemnation, but with attention, not with judgment, but with expectancy. Their response in this moment carries weight because it reveals what they truly believe about him, about themselves, and about the future he has been preparing. This is not about perfection. It is about posture. It is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting him enough to move. When he says move, heaven does not measure their worth here. Heaven observes their willingness. Angels are not counting their failures. Heaven is watching their obedience. The unseen realm is highly attentive now because their very next step matters, altering not just them but what flows through them. Please support this channel. This work brings pure joy and devotion to God into their lives. Anyone can kindly show their support by giving through Super Thanks. They have prayed for spiritual momentum, for divine progress. They have asked God to lead them, breaking cycles and opening doors. But momentum never comes from comfort. It comes from obedience, and hesitation ruins that momentum. The Lord warns with gentle love. This momentum is fragile in moments. When alignment meets faithful action, momentum builds very quickly. But when alignment meets hesitation, progress stalls. What could move smoothly starts feeling heavy. Doors that should open begin resisting. What should flow begins to strain. God does not want this struggle for them, so He speaks very clearly now. It is no time to overthink what He has already confirmed in their spirit. Fear will scream loudly at this moment. It tells them to slow down, to wait longer, to find proof to protect themselves. But we must remember, fear is not from God. It never comes from heaven. Fear never guides them into truth. Fear always masquerades as wise concern, but it yields paralysis, not peace. When fear leads, confusion follows. When fear decides, regret eventually speaks. The Lord never leads His children through fear. He leads His people with clarity through peace and a gentle, steady conviction. Even when the steps are bold, if His followers feel panic, that is not Him. If what they feel is pressure mixed with peace, that is His voice calling them forward. They might wonder why now. Why does it have to be now? Because their readiness has reached full maturity, because what they needed to learn they have learned, because what needed to be stripped away has already been removed, because the version of them that would have mishandled what is coming has already been refined. The Lord never calls prematurely. He does not push recklessly. When He says the moment is urgent, it is because the necessary preparation has been completed. Now they must respond, and response cannot be delayed without cost. This urgency does not mean chaos. It means clarity. It does not mean recklessness. It means decisiveness. It does not mean they rush blindly. It means they stop negotiating with what He has already made plain. There are truths He has already spoken to their hearts that they keep on revisiting over and over, hoping they might change. They will not. There are steps He has already shown that they keep postponing, hoping the timing feels safe. It never will. Safety is found in obedience, not delay. Peace is found in alignment, not avoidance. Heaven is watching not because they are on trial, but because they are trusted. This moment has weight because the Lord trusts His follower with it. He would not place them here if they were not capable of responding. He would not call them forward without having already gone ahead of them. He would not urge them if He had not already prepared what comes next. The urgency they feel is not pressure to perform. It is the pull of destiny coming into focus. It is the sound of alignment closing in. It is the signal that waiting has done its work and movement is now required. They must not mistake urgency for danger, nor confuse decisiveness with risk. He is not calling them into loss. He is calling them into flow. He does not call them into fear, but into faith that moves. Faith that remains still forever is not faith. It is comfort disguised as trust. True faith responds. True faith steps. True faith moves when the window opens, and that window is open. He knows part of them wants reassurance that everything will be easy once they move. That is not the promise. The promise is that it will be right. There is a difference. Right paths still require courage. Right decisions still stretch them. Right seasons still demand growth. But they do not drain them the way misaligned paths do. They do not confuse them the way delayed obedience does. They do not fracture their peace the way fear-led choices do. What He is calling them into will strengthen them even as it challenges them. So His children must listen. This moment is urgent because time has shifted. The delays are ending. Hard decisions are being weighed. Even is listening closely. New momentum is building. Fear is loud but completely false. Obedience opens the door. He is not late. He is not behind. He is right where he needs to be to respond faithfully now. He cannot let hesitation steal what faithful obedience can unlock. Fear must not slow what divine alignment is ready to release. The Lord is with him right now, not watching from a far distance. He is guiding him from within. He listens, trusts, and moves. This is no ordinary moment. It is the moment that decides how his future steps unfold. The Father calls him closer now, ready to share the truth that he has so far quietly avoided. God speaks not to shame or accuse him, nor to diminish him, but to set him free. He needs him to hear clearly because the single obstacle standing in the way of what he has been praying for is not what he thinks it is. It is not his lack of natural talent. It is not his lack of effort. It is not his intelligence. It is not that he has failed to pray enough, believe deeply, or try hard enough. The Lord has seen his effort. He has heard his prayers. He has seen his discipline. He has seen his desire. He has seen his longing to move forward. And yet something has remained just out of reach. That is because the barrier has not been outside of him. It has been within him, quietly shaping his pace, slowing his steps, softening their decisions and dulling their momentum without them fully realizing it. The one obstacle in their path is not dramatic. It never announces itself loudly. It never looks dangerous on the surface. In fact, it often feels reasonable, even wise. But beneath its calm appearance, it has held more power over their movement than any outside obstacle ever could. That single barrier is the hesitation rooted in fear, the self-doubt they entertain longer than they should, the obedience they delay while waiting to feel safer, and the things they hold on to even though they know deep down the Lord has already asked them to let go. This is not about one single action. It is about a posture of heart that has quietly slowed their lives. They have told themselves many stories to explain their delay. They said the timing was not right. They said they needed more clarity. They said they needed more confirmation. They said they needed to feel more confident. They said they needed things to settle first. And some of those reasons sounded wise. Some even sounded spiritual. But he sees his child beneath the language. He sees beneath the explanations. He sees the place where fear learned to speak softly instead of loudly. Where doubt learned to sound thoughtful instead of destructive. where hesitation learned to call itself patience. And he tells them gently but firmly, fear does not stop being fear just because it speaks politely. They are not lacking ability. God placed what they needed inside them long ago. They do not lack intelligence. He gave them wisdom and the ability to learn. They do not lack prayer. They have cried out to him more than anyone knows. They do not lack effort. They have tried again and again. But effort without obedience eventually becomes exhausting. Prayer without surrender eventually becomes frustrating. Desire without decision eventually becomes heavy. And this is where they have been living, tired. Not because they are weak, but because they have been carrying tension between what they know God is asking and what they are willing to do. The unseen barrier has been their fear of stepping fully into what they already sense is required, fear of making the wrong move, fear of losing control, fear of disappointing others, fear of failing publicly, fear of success changing their life more than they are ready for, fear of letting go of what feels familiar, even if it is no longer fruitful. They rarely call it fear. They call it caution. They call it being realistic. They call it waiting for the right moment. But for his child, fear does not always tremble. Sometimes it negotiates, sometimes it delays, sometimes it convinces them to stay just comfortable enough to avoid movement. There has also been self-doubt quietly shaping their decisions. He doubts his readiness. He doubts his ability to sustain what the Lord wants to give him. He doubts whether he can handle what comes next. He doubts whether he is truly qualified. And instead of bringing those doubts to the Lord and litany and letting him answer, he has allowed them to sit with him to advise him, to slow him down replaying his weaknesses. He rehearses his past mistakes. He measures himself against others. And each time he does, he takes one small step back from the edge of obedience. Not dramatically, not rebelliously, just enough to stay where he is. Another part of this barrier is delayed obedience. He had heard the Lord. He cannot deny he has not. There are things God has already made clear to him, steps he has already highlighted, directions he has already whispered to his heart. But he postponed them. He told himself he would respond later when he felt stronger, when circumstances improved, when fear lessened, when conditions felt safer. But obedience delayed is not neutral. It does not preserve clarity. It slowly erodes it. The longer obedience waits, the more noise fills the space. The more opinions enter, the more doubts grow. And soon what was once clear begins to feel complicated. He also continues to hold on to things God has already touched and asked him to loosen his grip on, relationships that drain him, patterns that numb him, mindsets that limit him, roles that no longer fit who they are becoming. They justify holding on to them because those roles once helped them survive, and they did. The Lord does not deny that, but survival tools become barriers when the season shifts. What once protected them can begin to confine them. What once comforted them can begin to slow them. The road speaks now because they cannot carry what belongs to a past season into the future. He is opening paths without them feeling the weight of it. Type Amen. His word is life. If scripture is their daily bread, this one thing has not stopped their life. He has slowed it. That is why the frustration feels constant but not catastrophic. That is why they feel close but not complete. That is why progress feels real, but limited. That is why they are tired even though they are capable. They have been moving forward while holding back at the same time, and the tension is what has worn them down. They were not created to live divided like this. They were not created to walk with one foot in obedience and one foot in hesitation. They were not created to hear his voice clearly and still negotiate with fear. He is not exposing this to hurt them. He is exposing it to release them. Because the moment this one thing is acknowledged honestly, its power weakens. Fear loses authority when it is named. Hesitation loses control when it is confronted. Doubt loses its grip when it is brought into the light. And delayed obedience. Every excuse fades when truth stands clearly before them. They do not need more talent. They do not need more effort. They do not need more preparation. They need alignment between what they know and what they do. God knows they are afraid of what will happen if they let go. He knows they are afraid of what will be required of them if they step fully forward. He knows they are afraid of failing, of being seen, of being misunderstood, of being stretched beyond what feels comfortable. But he speaks clearly now. He has never asked them to move alone. He has never asked them to be strong by themselves. He has never asked them to figure it all out. He has only asked them to trust him enough to respond when he calls. The thing standing in the way is not outside them, because external obstacles never had the authority to stop what he designed for them. The thing standing in the way has been the internal pause that comes when fear speaks louder than faith, and that pause has cost them momentum. It has not destroyed their destiny, but it has delayed their joy. It has not erased their calling, but it has slowed their clarity. It has not removed his favor, but it has kept them from fully experiencing it. He is speaking firmly to them now because they are ready to hear it without breaking. They are strong enough now to face what they once avoided. They are mature enough now to release what once felt necessary. They are grounded enough now to obey without needing every answer first. And he is close enough now to guide them through what happens next. This one thing no longer needs to control them anymore. They do not need to manage it. They do not need to negotiate with it. They must release it, feeling lighter when they do. Movement will return, peace will increase, direction will sharpen, momentum will rebuild. Not because the Lord suddenly became more present, but because they removed what was quietly resisting him. The slowing was never from him. Their assistance was never from heaven. It was the inner barrier that felt safe but was no longer faithful. He calls out to his beloved. This is not condemnation. This is liberation. He is not disappointed in them. He is inviting them. The one thing standing in the way is no longer hidden, and because it is no longer hidden, it no longer has the power to keep them where they are. He knows what lives inside their hearts. He knows the quiet desire they carry to succeed, to move forward, to build something meaningful, to finally feel that their life is unfolding instead of standing still. They may not say it aloud, but they feel it every day. They long for progress. They long to see fruit from the effort they have poured out. They long to wake with purpose instead of pressure, with direction instead of confusion. And he wants them to know this first before anything else. Their desire for success is not wrong. He placed that desire inside them. He is not offended by their dreams. He is not distant from their goals. The Lord is never disappointed when His children want more than simple survival. He placed a deep vision in their spirit, a divine hunger in their heart, a calling to grow, to achieve and become. That inner drive does not come from earth alone. It comes from God. But the Father gently teaches His children what true success really means. Because this world shouts so loudly and its constant noise misleads so many souls. True success in His eyes is not busyness or possessions. It is not about personal wealth or how many people know someone's name. It is not about climbing fast or looking impressive to others. Real success is holy alignment. It is when their daily life matches the inner truth of who they are and who God designed them to be. It is when labor does not hollow out their soul, or when their progress does not steal away their peace. It is when worldly milestones do not pull them from God but draw them closer. Success is not arriving at a destination. It is walking in step with Him wherever they go. Many have witnessed people who look successful on the outside yet remain empty on the inside. Anyone can feel that hollow ache at times, even when life seems to be going well. That is because achievement without alignment always feels empty. It looks brilliant but feels incredibly heavy. It looks powerful but leaves them exhausted. It looks grand but fails to satisfy their spirit. When they pursue success without Him, they might gain motion, but they lose rest. They might gain applause, but they lose clarity. They may gain comfort, but they lose meaning. And He loves them too much to let them build a life that looks full while their soul feels empty. He sees their dreams, His child. He sees the goals they have written down and the ones they are afraid to admit. He sees the future they imagine when they let their guard down. He sees the work they want, the stability they desire, the impact they hope to make, the freedom they long for. He is not standing in the way of those dreams. He is not slowing them to keep them small. He is guiding them because He wants them whole. He wants success to bless them, not burden them. He wanted to lift them, not trap them. He wants it to last, not collapse under its own weight. He knows they are frustrated. He knows slow progress has tested their patience. They have done what they knew to do. They have taken steps. They have tried to improve. They have waited when nothing seemed to move. They have watched others advance while they felt stuck, and in those moments they wondered if they were falling behind, if they missed something, if they were doing something wrong. He hears that frustration. He is not offended by it. Frustration is often the cry of a heart that knows it was created for more. But frustration becomes dangerous when it pushes them to chase speed instead of alignment. They have been tempted to measure success by how fast things happen, but speed is not the same as progress. They have been tempted to measure success by comparison, but comparison always distorts truth. Believers are often tempted to think that slow progress means failure, yet slow growth actually builds deeper roots. He has not been wasting their time. Instead, He is strengthening their foundation. Since success without a foundation collapses, and He will not let His gifts destroy them later. He wants them to understand this clearly. He does not delay to punish them but to protect them. He slows them down when speed would harm them. He pauses them when momentum would carry them somewhere they are not ready to sustain. He refines them when rushing would magnify weaknesses. They are still learning to surrender. They asked him for success and he is answering them, just not in the way the world does. He is answering them in a way that preserves their heart, their peace, their identity and their future. They want to move forward and that is good. But forward without alignment creates pressure instead of peace. Progress without clarity creates noise instead of direction. Forward without obedience creates empty activity instead of fruit. He wants their lives to bear fruit, not motion. He wants their success to feel right in their spirit, not just look right to others. That is why he has been dealing with their hearts before accelerating their path. He knows the waiting has been hard. Come, amen. He is flipping the script for those who believe God rewrites their story. Share this video.